Hi, my name is Anthony Pinkerton, and this speech is entitled Organ Procurement. What if I told you your body would be cut up like a science fair project when you die? This is what will happen if presumed consent becomes part of the United States legislature. If we assume that a just society is that which is morally balanced, we can argue that presumed consent is morally unjust. Presumed consent, also known as implied consent, is a program of assumption. It assumes that everyone wants to donate unless they specifically opt out. It is inconsistent with what is just, and there are other forms of donation procedures that increase rates of donation. Society considers just to be when someone is asked to make a personal decision beforehand, rather than neglected this choice unless the individual sought after objection. Assuming affects rights, and it affects your rights, especially during an invasive procedure that could potentially harm your body. Opt-out programs, known as presumed consent, do not account for an individual's wishes or rights. When you get a license at the age of 15, they don't ever ask you again if you want to become an organ donor. When you live to be 75 and say you have a fatal illness when you're 75, they just assume that you still want to be an organ donor. They don't ever make sure, and they don't ever ask again. So if your mind changes or your views on life change throughout your lifetime, you have to specifically go and object to having an organ donation and fill out new forms. They won't ask you again when you're in the hospital ready to pass on. In fact, PubMed Central Canada website shares information that suggests that the relationship between medical professionals and patients is damaged when presumed consent is the case. Patients trust a doctor to care for their wishes. Imagine if all medical procedures had presumed consent. If a doctor had 3 options of procedures that he could do on your body, he wouldn't have to ask you ahead of time which one to do, because it would become his right. It would be assumed that you give your right up to the doctor to choose what to do with your body, unless you specifically object that you don't want a specific procedure done. I would want to be consulted of all 3 options. I would want to learn the benefits, the consequences, and potential outcomes of each procedure. And there's no difference with organ procurement too. You should be notified of what's going on, and you should be asked the question, do you want to become an organ donor specifically to yourself? Your rights should not be violated in any case. According to Health Resources and Services Admin website, there is no social duty to express an individual's objection to a topic. Therefore, presumed consent crosses a line of rights. Mandated choice accounts for the desires of patients in all scenarios to ensure a just societal system. When using mandated choice, competent adults are asked the question, do you wish to become an organ donor? This abolishes neglect of rights. It's a directly asked question so that the family doesn't have to worry about making a tough decision, and there's no assumption along with it. And you also have the option to either opt in or opt out of organ procurement. Mandated choice also increases organ donation rates. It makes a requirement for you to state your desire whether or not you want to opt in or opt out of organ donation. So in the United States, 85% of people approve organ donation. Under mandated choice, those 85% of people will become organ donors most likely, compared to the 72% who currently opt out. Oakland University's website explains that mandated choice is the most autonomous decision because the individual is encouraged to express their own desires and wishes. Mandated choice should become national legislative procedure for organ donation processes. In Spain, mandated choice is dominant, where 34 people per million population donate. That is the world's highest number of organ donation. Although the United States is second in the world for organ donation, we still have major organ shortages. And the refusal rate is only 15% in Spain compared to the United States, 72%. Spain's example basically shows us that the highest levels of organ donation can be achieved while respecting the autonomy of individuals and without presuming consent. Presumed consent should be dormant in US legislature. 8,000 people die per year and 22 people die per day because of a loss of an organ, and there's a shortage of organs. Mandated choice saves about 50% of those lives. People shouldn't have to wait 3 to 5 years just to get a kidney transplant. It should be readily available. Mandated choice donation increases the amount of donation rates, and it has the advantages and the advantages of both opt-in and opt-out programs without the disadvantages of each. Finally, due to the neglectful and unjust nature, presumed consent cannot become a part of the United States legislature. It is deceitful and it doesn't increase organ donation rates. Thank you.
Yay.